Hello, and this is Miss Yetter. We are continuing our saga in Hollow City, the second novel in Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. We are on chapter 6, and this is part 3. We are at the top of page 177. If you'll please open your books and join me. But I agree with you, she is fascinating. I've heard about you, he said to Emma. I'd give anything to do what you do, if only we could bottle those hands of yours. Mr. White smiled weirdly before turning back to the soldier. Finish up, he snapped. We don't have all day. With pleasure, the soldier replied, and then he stood, dragging his hands up Emma's torso as he rose. What happened next seemed to unfold in slow motion. I could see that this disgusting leech was about to lean in and give Emma a kiss. I could also see that behind her back, Emma's hands were now lined with flame. I knew where this was going. The second his lips got near her, she was going to reach around and melt his face, even if it meant taking a bullet. She'd reached a breaking point. So had I. I tensed, ready to fight. These, I was convinced, were our last moments, but we'd live them on our own terms. And if we were going to die, by God, we'd take a few whites with us along the way. The soldier slid his hands around Emma's waist. The barrel of another's rifle dug into her forehead. She seemed to be pushing back against it, daring it to fire. Behind her back, I saw her hands begin to spread, white-hot flame tracing along each of her fingers. Here we go, then crack. The report of a gun, stunning and sharp. I shut down, blacked out for a second. When my sight came back, Emma was still standing, her head still intact. The rifle that had been pressed against it was pointed down now, and the soldier who'd been about to kiss her had pulled away and spun around to face the window. The shotgun had come from outside. Every nerve in my body had gone numb, tingling with adrenaline. What was that? Said Mr. White, rushing to the window. I could see through the glass over his shoulder. The soldier who'd gone to intercept the train was standing outside, waist deep in wildflowers. His back was to us, his rifle aimed at the field. Mr. Wright reached through the bars that covered the window and pushed it open. What the hell are you shouting at? He shouted. Why are you still here? The soldier didn't move, didn't speak. The field was alive with the whine of insects, and briefly, that's all we could hear. Corporal Brown, bellowed Mr. White. The man turned slowly, unsteady on his feet. The rifle slipped from his hands and fell into the tall grass. He took a few doddering steps forward. Mr. White took the revolver from his holster and pointed it out the window at Brown. Say something, damn you. Brown opened his mouth and tried to speak, but where his voice should have been, an eerie, droning noise came echoing up from his guts, mimicking the sound that was everywhere in the fields around him. It was the sound of bees, hundreds, thousands of them. Next came the bees themselves, just a few at first, drifting through his parted lips. Then some power beyond his own seemed to take hold of him. His shoulders pulled back and his chest pressed forward, and his jaws ratcheted wide open, and from his gasping mouth there poured forth such a dense stream of bees that they were like one solid object, a long, fat hose of insects unspooling endlessly from his throat. Mr. White stumbled back from the window, horrified and baffled. Out in the field, Brown collapsed in a cloud of stinging insects. As his body fell, another was revealed behind him. It was a boy, Hugh. He stood defiantly, staring through the window. The insects swung around him in a great whirling sphere. The fields were packed with them. Honeybees and hornets, wasps and yellow jackets, stinging things I couldn't know or name. And every last one of them seemed to be at his command. Mr. White raised his gun and fired, emptied his clip. Hugh went down, disappearing in the grass. I didn't know whether he had fallen to the ground or dived to it. Then 3 other soldiers ran to the window, and while Bronwyn cried, "Please don't kill him," they raked the field with bullets, filling our ears with the thunder of their guns. Then there were bees in the room, a dozen maybe, furious and flinging themselves at the soldiers. "Shut the window," Mr. White screamed, swatting the air around him. A soldier slammed the window closed. They all went to work smacking the bees that had gotten in. While they were busy with that, more and more collected outside, a giant seething blanket of them pulsing against the other side of the glass. So many that by the time Mr. White and his men had finished killing the bees inside the room, the ones outside had nearly shut out the sun. The soldiers clustered in the middle of the floor, backs together, rifles bristling out like porcupine quills. It was dark and hot, and the alien whine of a million maniac bees reverberated through the room like something out of a nightmare. "Make them leave us alone," Mr. White shouted, his voice cracking, desperate, as if anyone but Hugh could do that if he was still alive. "I'll make you another offer," said Beckire, pulling himself to his feet, using the window bars, his hobbled silhouette outlined against the dark glass. "Put down your guns, or I open this window." Mr. White spun to face him. "Even a gypsy wouldn't be stupid enough to do that." "You think too highly of us," Beckire said, sliding his fingers toward the handle. The soldier raised their rifles. "Go ahead," said Beckire. "Shoot." "Don't. You'll break the glass," Mr. White shouted. "Grab him." 2 soldiers threw down their rifles and lunged at Beckire, but not before he punched his fist through the glass. The entire window shattered. Bees flushed into the room. Chaos erupted, screams, gunfire, shoving, though I could hardly hear it over the roar of the insects, which seemed to fill not just my ears but every pore in my body. People were climbing over one another to get out. To my right, I saw Bronwyn push Olive to the floor and cover her with her body. Emma shouted, "Get down," and we ducked for cover as bees tumbled over our skin, our hair. I waited to die, for the bees to cover every exposed inch of me in stings that would shut down my nervous system. Someone kicked open the door. Light blasted in. A dozen boots thundered across the floorboards. It got quiet. I slowly uncovered my head. The bees were gone. So were the soldiers. Then, from outside, a chorus of panicked screams. I jumped up and rushed to the shattered window, where a knot of gypsies and peculiars were already gathered, peering out. At first, I didn't see the soldiers at all, just a giant swirling mass of insects, so dense it was opaque, about 50 feet down the footpath. The screams were coming from inside it. Then, one by one, the screams fell silent. When it was all over, the cloud of bees began to spread and scatter, unveiling the bodies of Mr. White and his men. They lay clustered in the low grass, dead or nearly so. 20 seconds later, their killers were gone, their monstrous hum fading as they settled back into the fields. In their wake, fell a strange and bucolic calm, as if it were just another summer day and nothing out of the ordinary had happened. Emma counted the soldiers' bodies on her fingers. 6. That's all of them, he said. It's over. I put my arms around her, shaking with gratitude and disbelief. Which of you are hurt? Said Bronwyn, looking around frantically. Those last moments had been crazy. Countless bees, gunfire in the dark. We checked ourselves for holes. Horace was dazed but conscious, a trickle of blood running from his temple. Beckhire's stab wound was deep, but would heal. The rest of us were shaken but unhurt, and miraculously not a single one of us was bee-stung. When you broke the window, I said to Beckhire, how did you know the bees wouldn't attack us? I didn't, he said. Luckily, your friend's power is strong. Our friend? Emma pulled away from me suddenly. Oh my God, she gasped. Hugh. In all the chaos, we'd forgotten about him. He was probably bleeding to death right now, somewhere in the tall grass. But just as we were about to tear outside and look for him, he appeared in the doorway, bedraggled and grass-stained, but smiling. Hugh, Olive cried, rushing to him. You're alive. I am, he said heartily. Are all of you? Thanks to you, we are, Bronwyn said. 3 cheers for Hugh. You're our man in a pinch, Hugh, cried Horace. Nowhere am I deadlier than in a field of wildflowers, Hugh said, enjoying the attention. Sorry about all the times I made fun of your peculiarity, said Enoch. I suppose it's not so useless. Additionally, said Millard, I'd like to compliment Hugh on his impeccable timing. Really, if you'd arrived just a few seconds later. Hugh explained how he'd evaded capture at the depot by slipping down between the train and the platform, just like I'd thought. He'd sent one of his bees trailing after us, which allowed him to follow from a careful distance. Then it was just a matter of finding the perfect time to strike, he said proudly, as if victory had been assured from the moment he decided to save us. And if you hadn't accidentally stumbled across a field packed with bees, Enoch said. Hugh dug something from his pocket and held it up, a peculiar chicken egg. Plan B, he said. Beckhire hobbled to Hugh and shook his head. Young man, he said, we owe you our lives. What about your peculiar boy? Millard asked Beckhire. He managed to escape with 2 of my men, thank God. We lost 3 fine animals today, but no people. Beckhire bowed to Hugh, and I thought for a moment he might even take Hugh's hand and kiss it. You must allow us to repay you. Hugh blushed. There's no need, I assure you. And no time either, said Emma, pushing Hugh out the door. We have a train to catch. Those of us who hadn't yet realized Miss Peregrine was gone went pale. We'll take their jeep, said Millard. If we're lucky, and if that white was correct, we might just be able to catch the train during its stopover in Portmagog. I know a shortcut, Beckhire said, and he drew a simple map in the dirt with his shoe. We thanked the gypsies. I told Beckhire we were sorry we'd caused them so much trouble, and he unleashed a big, booming laugh and waved us down the path. We'll meet you again, Cindergasty, he said. I'm certain of it. We squeezed into the White's Jeep, 8 kids packed like sardines, into a vehicle built for 3. Because I was the only one who'd driven a car before, I took the wheel. I spent way too long figuring out how to start the damn thing. Not with a key, it turned out, but by pushing a button on the floor. And then there was the matter of shifting gears. I'd only driven a manual transmission a few times, and always with my dad coaching me from the passenger seat. Despite all of that, after a minute or two, we were bumpily, jerkily, somewhat hesitatingly on our way. I stomped the accelerator and drove as fast as the overloaded Jeep would take us, while Millard shouted directions and everyone else held on for dear life. We reached the town of Portsmouth. 20 minutes later, the train's whistle blowing as we sped down the main street toward the station. We came to a skidding stop by the depot and tumbled out. I didn't even bother to kill the engine. Racing through the station like cheetahs after a gazelle, we leapt on board the last car of the train just as it was pulling out of the station. We stood doubled over and panting in the aisle while astonished passengers pretended not to stare. Sweating, dirty, and disheveled, we must have been a sight. We made it, Emma gasped. I can't believe we made it. I can't believe I drove a stick, I said. The conductor appeared. You're back, he said with a beleaguered sigh. I trust you still have your tickets. Horace fished them out of his pocket in a wad. This way to your cabin, said the conductor. Our trunk, Browin said, clutching at the conductor's elbow. Is it still there? The conductor pried his arm away. I tried taking it to Lost and Found, couldn't move the blessed thing an inch. We ran from car to car until we reached the first-class cabin, where we found Browin's trunk sitting just where she'd left it. She rushed to it and threw open the latches, then the lid. Miss Peregrine wasn't inside. I had a mini heart attack. My bird, Browin cried. Where's my bird? Calm down, it's right here, said the conductor, and he pointed above our heads. Miss Peregrine was perched on a luggage rack, fast asleep. Browin stumbled back against the wall, so relieved she nearly fainted. How did she get up there? The conductor raised his eyebrows. It's a very lifelike toy. He turned and went to the door, then stopped and said, by the way, where can I get one? My daughter would just love it. I'm afraid she's one of a kind, Browin said, and shook Miss Peregrine down and hugged her to her chest. After all we'd been through over the past few days, not to mention the past few hours, the luxury of the first-class cabin came as a shock. Our car had plush leather couches, a dining table, and wide picture windows. It looked like a rich man's living room, and we had it all to ourselves. We took turns washing up in the wood-paneled bathroom, then availed ourselves of the dining menu. Order anything you like, Enoch said, picking up a telephone that was attached to the arm of a reclining chair. Hello, do you have goose liver pate? I should like all of it. Yes, all that you have. And toast triangles. No one said anything about what had happened. It was too much, too awful, and for now, we just wanted to recover and forget. There was so much else to be done, so many more dangers left to reckon with. We settled in for the journey. Outside, Portsmouth squat houses shrank away, and Miss Wren's mountain came into view, rising gravelly above the hill, while the others drifted into conversations. My nose stayed glued to the window and the endless unfolding there-ness of 1940 beyond it. 1940 being a place that had until recently been merely pocket-sized in my experience, no wider than a tiny island, and a place I could leave anytime I wished by passing through the dark belly of Karen. Since leaving the island, though, it had become a whole world of marshy forest and smoke-wreathed towns and valleys crisscrossed with shining rivers, and of people and things that looked old but weren't yet. like props and extras in some elaborately staged but plotless period movie. All of it flashing by and by out my window like a dream without an end. I fell asleep and woke, the train's rhythm hypnotizing me into a lazy state in which it was easy to forget that I was more than just a passive viewer, my window more than just a movie screen, that out there was every bit as real as in here. Then slowly I remembered how I'd come to be part of this. My grandfather, the island, the children, the pretty flint-eyed girl next to me. Her hand rested atop mine. Am I really here? I asked her. Go back to sleep, she said. Do you think we'll be all right? She kissed me on the tip of my nose. Go back to sleep.